Go ahead and move your mic next to you. Put it near your face.
Hey.
Then you just put it away from your face again.
We're good,
Tilt
Peter.
it up.
Just move forward. Okay. Tilt
okay,
it.
whatever. It's whatever.
We're fine.
Okay, coming to you from Moto One Podcast Network Studios, Recording Suite A, otherwise known as the Tiki Room. Let's see here. We are going to do Best Worst Bike in the World this week, and then we're going to do Made Up Motorcycle this week, I think. Mm-hmm. And perhaps some news from Dr. Mike also.
Yeah, I have news.
And I think like last week, we're going to do 90 minutes and then bonus material for the Patreon. Or I don't know, if we've got a lot of show to get to, but it's also kind of late. We'll see how much show, but there will be a full episode plus bonus for Patreon, either way that we do it.
Did you do the topic already? How much riding versus virtual riding do you do? Remember that one? We were like prepping it for last time that I was on.
I don't know. Could you not hit that with your foot, Mike?
Okay.
Yeah, it knocks that light there, and it's making a noise also that I can hear because it's banging against that microphone stand.
Fine.
It will drive me fucking crazy. Okay. So, I think we've got everything that we need to get this show rolling. I just want to mention that since we decided one episode ago to do bonus material for the Patreon, like hundreds of you have gone to the Patreon and not joined it. You can join for $1. Everybody who is a paid member gets all of the Patreon stuff. The different levels are based on how much you like us and what kind of merch you would like to receive in order for being a Patreon member. Do you want a sticker? Do you want a mug? Do you want more? Right? I should take a look at that actually and see what people get for the various tiers and kind of like revamp it and re-up it and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, yes, for about 25 cents an episode, you could get anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour's worth per episode more content. I would say that's worth it. 25 cents? That's what's like underneath your not even your driver's seat in your car. The passenger seat has 25 cents under it. There's probably $2 underneath your driver's seat. Anyway, so should we get to Best Worst Bike in the World this week?
Let's do it.
All right. For all our new listeners, this is Best Worst Bike in the World this week. This is where Swigs and I have each chosen a motorcycle. We don't know what each other have chosen. It's always a surprise. If you disagree, have thoughts, feelings, complaints, send that shit to contact@nokomotopodcast.com, where we're not going to take anything personal, but we'll get back to you about it. And Swigs, you have worst bike in the world this week.
I do.
And are you ready to reveal it?
I am.
All right. And the worst bike in the world this week is?
The 2025 Yamaha MT-10.
Really?
Really?
Has it shot up stupidly in price? Let's see.
Not massively, but ultimately...
Not a fan of the color change here.
It doesn't look great. Well, that's all Yamahas, though, so unfortunately. But the biggest issue with this bike is that this is a 1-liter inline-4 superbike in a post-horsepower world in which the MT-09 exists.
I was looking actually at the cost of these and everything, and I was like, I think I'll just stick with an MT-09 for like once we start asking this much money.
So this essentially is an R1 that's been basically made naked. It's got a slightly different tank, but it's basically all the superbike tech in a naked bike for $4,000 more than an MT-09. And if we're being realistic, this bike has way more power than you can ever use, and it's heavier as well, to the point where I would say the average person is going to be more capable on an MT-09 than an MT-10.
So hold on. I want to both disagree and strongly disagree with you there. So if you're the kind of dude that just wants huge roll-on power at 77 miles an hour on the interstate, you can use this power. But not all of it, because it's a naked bike. And you could only really use all the power and acceleration of a naked bike for a couple seconds at a time, maybe. Because you underestimate what the wind feels like at 120 miles an hour. And I know it doesn't look like a lot of body work that's on an R1, but what that body work is doing is so much more work than you think it is.
Yes.
The idea of a naked bike having more than 60-something foot-pounds of torque and 90-something horsepower is preposterous, because using that power is just going to be so unpleasant. You will be thinking 10 times more about how your wallet might come out of your pocket, or the fact that, you are actively stretching the fabric on the neck of your t-shirt from the wind, right? It's just stupid.
I mean,
Well, not
I like
only
the way
that-
it looks.
Not only that, it's something you can't really do for a very sustained amount of time either, because just going at, 80, 85 miles an hour on a fully naked bike is just exhausting. It will wear you down so quickly.
It depends how you're riding, but yes, it can be.
So ultimately, there's several problems with this bike. And the first is that it's nowhere near as popular as the MT-09. Now, they do make a bunch of kind of like touring stuff for this bike, and there's some other kind of options that come with it. But the problem is that the MT-09 is so popular that the aftermarket for the MT-09 just completely dwarfs this bike. There's so much stuff that's just dedicated to the MT-09 that there isn't even better aftermarket support for it. And the factory support doesn't make up for it either. Additionally, nobody really cares. The only reason to get this over an MT-09...
Well, you just want to have 1 liter bragging rights.
Right. But nobody even cares about that anymore. A lot of people would rather have some parallel twin or V-twin adventure bike, or have a super bike, or have tons and tons of storage on something like a concourse, or they'd rather have a cruiser.
I would save $3,000 if I was in the market for this kind of bike. I would save $3,000 and get the GSX S 1000.
That's an option, yeah. But
Actually, no. Just to piss you off, Swigs, I would find a used CBR 1000F.
yeah, I know. I'm sure you would.
Or no, the CB 1000R.
So
That's it. I would find a used one and piss you off with its ridiculous Honda Rebel headlight and everything.
Is there a world in which someone would choose this over that?
Yeah. Style and what their friends have. So we saw one of these today, Mike. Well, it was it was an MT bike of some description.
We did. Yeah, we couldn't get.
But you
exact,
remarked on like the yellow wheels.
Yeah, 'cause
That's why I looked at this right away and went, I don't like the color change. This looks exactly like what we saw today, except for some reason this is all white with blue wheels. I wasn't the biggest fan of like the black and gray schemes, but the black and gray and yellow schemes with the yellow wheels was fucking awesome. And the teal wheels as well. I don't know how I feel about these blue wheels. I don't think they pop as much as the high vis yellow wheels.
Yeah.
I think it's a step in the wrong direction.
I like that white and blue look, but yeah, that guy who came by, he was like gray with yellow wheels, and
that's the look they've had for about the last 6 years or so.
That was just very iconic. Like I recognized that guy. Like I was like, oh, I've seen that guy going down the highway, and you said, oh, they're all like that.
Yeah, you may have not seen that guy. You've seen it's a particular look, and I think it's a good look. I think these Yamaha MT or FZ bikes as they were before, but in the MT era with their colored wheels and everything, I think I like them better than the Kawasaki Z bikes for sure in terms of the styling. I mean, yeah.
So another thing I would point out is that, I mean, yes, the MT10 is quite a bit chunkier than the MT09, but at a glance, you can kind of miss it.
Oh yeah.
So
in traffic, yeah.
This is more of a problem with Yamaha in general. Is that Yamaha has got this super coordinated. It's like every bike is kind of wearing a uniform, and they're surprisingly difficult to tell apart. And it's similar. It's somewhat similar with the Fared bikes as well. And that's kind of great if you own an R3, or if you own an MT07.
Yeah,
It's not good if you're getting an R1 or an MT10.
The R1 or MT10 is all about the parking lot bragging rights.
To a degree, yeah.
Because once you get on the road, it doesn't fucking matter. Mike and I rode some steep hills today and some big curves and some twisty roads. And I did it with 22 horsepower and he did it with 50 something. And it was a glorious day of lane splitting too.
And
were we ever in danger of being passed by anybody for any reason? Were we ever under a lack of power for whatever? No.
Well, I mean,
if you have this bike, it doesn't. Right. But even if we were, was there ever anything where power was an issue?
I had literally double engine size on you, and it was no big deal.
You actually had more. Like, I think your bike is a real 650, it's like 649 cc's. It's not like 616 or something, right? And the Rebel 300 is actually like 286 cc's. It's barely more than a 250. Yeah. But it was just fine.
Yeah, it was a good day. And now that you mention it, we got excellent Colorado lane splitting. Like a bunch of it.
And that Rebel 300, was it even close at any light? No, we just rocketed away from everybody every time.
Yeah.
Right. So ultimately, though,
actually, except that time I missed and got a neutral. But yeah.
Ultimately, being top of the mountain can be cool, and having those bragging rights. But here's the thing. Non-Yamaha people who aren't into Yamaha don't give a shit about the MT10. And the people who own MT07s, MT03s, and MT09s, they're all having way too much fun to give a fuck. Yeah. They're all kind of just cruising around with their there's how many people went into the dealership with their bros and both got MT07s or MT09s or got them a week or a month apart. it's kind of a big, you know, they're all kind of like just bikes for the boys.
I have
And
never ridden a Yamaha 1 liter bike. I've never ridden an R1, but I have ridden other liter bikes. And because these bikes were all so similar on the torque and horsepower specs and gearing, I kind of know what it's like. It's like I've never no, actually I have ridden an Evo Harley. But let's say I hadn't ridden an Evo Harley engine, right? If you ride enough Vulcans, right? And other kind of metric cruisers that like are trying to, well, I guess the Vulcan really copies the Evo power characteristics a lot more than other engines. But like there are other V twins you can ride where you can kind of like, yeah, here's what it's going to be, right? I mean, the biggest difference obviously between a Vulcan 1600 and a Harley Evo motor is that a Vulcan doesn't throw a fit if you're not in between 2.5 and 3,500 RPM.
yeah,
Well, no, that's not even the Evo. That's the twin cam. But yeah. But I don't need to know what this. I don't have to actually ride this bike to know what the motor's like, because it's gonna be like the Gixxer 1000 that I rode. It, you know, or like a Gixxer 750 with a little bit more, right? Like we
Right.
kind of know, right? If you know inline 4 engines, you kind of know. The 900 is way different. It does have more personality. It does have more quirks. And at the end of the day, I think that's going to keep you in love with the bike a little bit longer.
yeah.
So
for sure.
not just from the value, but like the enjoyment. Because, yeah, practically, you don't really care about this. Now, if you want to put this motor in its R1 form, all of a sudden, we're talking a different game. Now we've got a dedicated sport machine that you might take to the track or do whatever with that you might ride in a different way or own in a different way and be in different groups of people with that. The extra money might totally be worth it. Well, I mean, they don't make an R1 anymore, so it's kind of irrelevant, but you know what I'm saying. But in
Yeah.
this form factor, I think you're right. There's almost zero reason to have it this way. I maybe there's something to be said for torque, but I don't think the 900 has that much less torque. Can we bring up the numbers for that? I think that
let's
900
see what we
triple, it's not much less. I think it's still got quite a kick. I'm going to guess the 900 triple is high 50s, low 60s for torque.
For which one?
The 900. Whether it's the MT09, XSR9, the Niken, just that 900 triple Yamaha motor.
Let's see if they have at least the torque on the shop page here.
Yeah, and torque on this might be low 80s, high 70s. I'm gonna guess. Well, what they're going to have done is change the fueling and change the timing, so it's like, you know, quote, tuned for the mid-range. Because again, even Yamaha knows that without an R1 fairing, it's like you don't need all the fucking horsepower. Trust me. So it might be making a little bit more torque and do a little less RPM. They may have, you know,
So
put different rods in it, change the strokes, that kind of thing. I'm not sure.
Let's see what they got here. So 69 foot-pounds for the MTO9.
Oh, that's more than I thought. I thought it'd be like low 60s, if anything. High 60s. Okay. 69 horsepower on a bike that light is nothing to scoff at.
No, 69 foot-pounds of torque.
That's what I said.
You
Oh,
said
did I say horsepower?
you said
I meant
horsepower.
torque. 69 foot-pounds of torque is a healthy amount of torque.
And it's still 118 horsepower.
And it's still, yeah. I think my Superhawk was 77 foot-pounds of torque. And that's a 1 liter V twin. And I remember you rode it, got off of it, and went, holy Jesus, fuck, that kicks you in the ass.
Yeah.
8 foot-pounds torque difference? Like, no, you're going to crack the throttle on the 900 and get a kick in the fucking pants all day. So if they're getting out of that 900, this might be low 80s. I'm going to guess more it's around 77, 79. It might, for that extra 100 cc's, like you might get another 10 foot-pounds of torque. I don't know though, but it's an extra cylinder, so that like. But in the R1, like this motor gets like low 80s, I thought, for torque. So who knows?
So it's 82 foot-pounds.
Okay, I was pretty close again. Yeah. I was closer than I was with the 900. The 900 surprises me at 69. That's a good number. And that only strengthens our case. Get the 900. 14 foot-pounds difference. Like, that's less than the torque of a Rebel. In terms of torque, it's less than a Rebel 300's difference.
Yeah.
It's not something to worry about. It's gonna kick you in the pants, but and it's gonna 108. Yeah. You're insane to not get the 900. You're a fuck. I mean, if you've got an MT10, don't feel bad about it. Your bike is, a little. It's just nowhere near the value, right?
Yeah.
It's this extra money for. Like, it is more, and it is cool to have. What we're saying is that it is extreme diminishing returns, right?
Yeah. It's the fact that the value proposition is there's so little additional benefit, yeah. And, the amount of fun you're going to have per dollar is significantly less than if you just got the MT09.
And we're talking the difference of what, like probably 118 horsepower to like 138?
No. So the MT10, this is the one area where the MT10 is doing really well, is that the MT10 is 160 horsepower.
Oh, wow. It's full on like R1 power.
Yes. But again, it's really fucking hard to use that power.
Yeah. Well, I would like to have a double bubble windscreen if I'm going to be using that. Like, I don't even want the stock windscreen. Right. I want the double bubble. Thank you.
But realistically, you're just not going to be able to use it, like I said.
Well, you can, just only for seconds at a time.
Well, even then, to actually get all of that power down, like, realistically, it takes skill to actually get that power to the ground, because unless you've actually loaded up the rear tire, you're either going to 12 o'clock your bike and go ass over tit, or you're just going to spin the rear wheel.
Well, we can have the same conversation about 118 horsepower in the 900, though, right? There's a good argument that over 85, it's really hard to use your power. So the question is for that convenience of, being at the interstate speed limit and then having that roll-on power, because that's really what we're talking about here. That is the only situation in which having that extra power is going to help you. Because your horsepower and torque in twisty canyon roads and whatever on the 900 is already way surplus to requirements.
Right.
It's interstate straight line. How much roll-on power do you have? And here, yes, you definitely have more. And you'll be able to use it in that straight line for a little bit. The question is, how much more do you want to pay for that? And how much is that gas station conversation worth to you? For example, like, I'm spending way too much fucking money on the Lambretta. For what? Essentially a gas station conversation, if I'm completely honest. I mean, it's a better gas station. It's a club, it's a scooter meetup conversation, but it's a glorified gas station parking lot gas station conversation, right? Nobody gives a fuck. It's a scooter. Yes, it's two-stroke and old school, and it's from the 1950s, but people still don't care, right? If I say, oh, it does 65 miles an hour, they don't care. I could tell them it does 120 miles an hour. They don't fucking care. But there will be, but when I look at it in the garage and it's built and I've done all the work and it's finished and I know it does an honest 65 miles an hour and I can ride it on the interstate, it's not going to be pleasant. Well, I don't know. When I put the windshield on it and the other things that I've got, it might be okay, but like whatever. I don't want to do it for more than like 10, 20 miles at a time, but like I can put it on the interstate, crack the throttle, and do 62 and just hold it there
right.
and let people come around me and
But
all these things, and I'll have conversations and I'll tell people how I did the work, I built the engine, I rescued it, I found it from a guy whose dad had it. It was on the farm its whole life. It was thrashed. It was never registered. I got the paperwork done, all that stuff. And I'll be in for a pretty penny on this fucking ridiculous 1950s two-stroke scooter. But I've decided that that's worth it for me. I think the argument we're making is that there are people throwing down the money on the MT10, and we would like to just take them by the hand and leave them in the other room and go, I think you should have a look at the 900. I think it accomplishes everything you're trying to do. You're overshooting your goal a little bit.
Yeah.
And if they still say, no, fuck it, I want the 1 liter, then God bless you. You want the 1 liter. Right?
Right. To me,
and an MT10 is still fucking awesome.
So to me, like the difference in value proposition here is like buying a plane ticket versus buying a plane ticket and like spending the extra $15 to get on the plane first. Why? Why?
Yeah.
This is
especially when you're traveling alone.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like this is insane.
There's something to early boarding when you're traveling with a family. I'll let you know, Swigs. But yeah, if you're flying alone, you ought to be the last fucking person on that plane. There is no advantage to getting on early. And you're like, oh no, I'll have to sit in the middle. You were probably going to have to sit in there was a 30% chance you were going to sit in the middle anyway.
Yeah.
And hey, being in the middle ain't so bad. It's easier to get to the bathroom from the window, and you get 2 armrests. Well, that's not nothing.
Well, if your coach mates are civilized, yes.
I'm going to quote Jim Jeffries. We live in a society. Aisle gets to put their leg out, and it's easier to go to the bathroom. Window gets the window and can sleep easier. Middle gets both armrests. We're not animals. Right?
Yeah.
This is how it goes. There's a benefit and a drawback to each seat. Right? It's not just, oh, you're in the middle, you're fucked. No. If you are in the middle seat of a plane, you better be prepared to have a knife fight for those armrests because they are yours by right.
Couldn't agree more.
If I was in charge of the airlines, I would have it would be a service. It would be like on the next to the fucking air vents, it would be written, middle gets both armrests.
Yeah.
But you're an animal if you don't respect it, and I don't respect you, and you deserve whatever the fuck comes your way if you don't respect that middle gets both armrests. Anyway, have some patience, have an extra cocktail, and get on the plane fucking last. It's not worth the early boarding. It's just not. Just like the MT10 may not be worth the extra $4,000.
Yeah.
I
Think about it.
I will say this though, just to bookend this. 160 horsepower. So that's $4,000 to go from 118. So that's for 42 horsepower for $4,000.
It is basically like it's almost
You're hard pressed to find a 42 horsepower bike for $4,000. Usually, price and power don't meet up that way on the top end of the spectrum. I will give
Yeah.
the MT10 that. If you are just chasing a factory standard horsepower output bragging rights, there are worse ways to go. But if you just want to hang with your crew, I don't know that the extra loan is worth it. Like, financing is a cruel game.
yeah, especially these days.
Yeah. Okay, should we move on to best bike in the world this week?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. And the best bike in the world this week is... I'm going to go with the 2014. It could be any year, but I don't want it to be the first year, which was 2010. Honda VFR 1200F. A bike that no one understood. A bike that no one loved. A bike that I like to call the Honda Busa. A bike, but it's not really a Honda Busa. It's not really. It's the closest thing it's related to is probably actually the Honda Rune, but it's not like a Honda Rune at all. And by looking at it, you would think, oh, well, maybe it's more closely related to the Honda ST1300. Kind of, but in philosophy, it's completely different. And you might think, oh, it's kind of like a Kawasaki Concourse. No. So in 2010, Honda decided it needed to make a really big statement. This 2010 was about that time people started talking about how Honda bikes were really, really boring. We take it for granted right now that Honda's the boring company. Honda was seen as a pretty exciting company through the 90s and even the early 2000s. I mean, if you had to say which was the most boring out of all the companies, like, sure, they would be like the least exciting maybe, but the Honda's boring thing by 2010 was starting to really become a thing, right?
Yeah.
Because, in the 80s, the original VFRs and Interceptors were successful race bikes. Like, Honda was winning shit everywhere. In the 90s, their fucking Fireblades, the CBR 900s, the 929s, all that stuff were just fucking hot shit. But they didn't really keep their bikes as fast and as competitive as the Kawasaki's and the Yamahas and the Suzuki's and whatever. And it was like, oh, Hondas are the slow old man bikes, whatever. But not only that, like, this is 2010. So the current Goldwing had been around for a while, right? It was introduced in 2001 and went all the way to 2017. So there wasn't really anything super exciting happening there. This time was kind of a big deal for what we take for granted now, small displacement sport bikes. Honda put out a CBR 250 around this time that had this same styling, and that's no coincidence. Honda decided they needed to make a flagship bike that wasn't the Goldwing. They needed to make a bike that displayed all of their high-tech crazy shit and go with a completely different styling than they had ever done before. So they did a Honda CBR 250 and a VFR 1200 that essentially look the same. Do you remember this CBR 250, Swigs?
I don't.
Bring up a picture of the CBR 250 that looks like that, like a 2010 or 2011 CBR 250. It's something else. They may have even waited till like 2012 to do it, but within a couple years of this, there's a CBR 250, and you just need to see it real quick before I go any further with this, because this was Honda saying, like, just big statements. Like, they didn't give a shit if anyone bought this bike in America. Honda didn't give two flying fucks if you bought it or not. What they wanted you to do was know that it existed. See that?
Yeah. Well,
It's kind of cool in a
It
weird
is,
way.
yeah.
So anyway, now go back to the VFR 1200. I just had to put that there because the whole thing was like, hey, people that have been around forever with Honda, here's something new for you, and people who are just coming into Honda, this is what we want you to think about Honda, right?
Right.
So it's like if Victory made a sport touring motorcycle, kind of, right?
Yeah,
There's something about the styling that's not for everybody, I'll admit.
Yeah.
But this 1200 was the Honda's very first motorcycle released with DCT back in 2010.
Oh, they put DCT on this.
This was 17 or 8. No, I think this was about $17,000 in a 6-speed manual. In 2010, it was $20,000 with DCT.
Okay, yeah.
They did not make very many with DCT. They didn't make that many at all to begin with. But again, Honda didn't fucking care. This is from a glorious time when companies just put out these crazy bikes as statements. And it really didn't matter if anyone in the real world actually bought them. And you can kind of think of this as Honda's H2.
Yeah.
Like, Kawasaki doesn't give a flying fuck how many H2s they sell. Right? I mean, why have they decked them all out in so many different flavors? It's not because they sell a lot of them.
I think there are plenty of states where they have more models of H2 than they actually sell in a year.
Yeah.
It's
So this motorcycle, 1200cc V4. That in itself right there puts it in a very special class. Yes, there are V4 motorcycles, even V4 motorcycles made by Honda, which are larger. The ST1300, for example. But the ST1300 isn't that much bigger. It's only like 50 cc's bigger than this. This is like a 1230 something. So it's rounded down to 1200. But depending on who you talk to, what year their VFR 1200 is, if they've fucked with the exhaust, this gets anywhere from 145 to 170 horsepower. Even stock, this thing runs 10s and beats a Kawasaki Concourse in a quarter mile. Beats a VFR, what's the Yamaha one? The,
VMAX?
No. They're big
what?
sport tour. The
FJR?
The FJR. Just spanks up. It's just ridiculously fast. It makes somewhere close to 100 foot-pounds of torque at 4,000 RPM. 4,000 RPM, 100 foot-pounds of torque. Just boom, kicks you in the ass. It is so kick you in the ass with torque that it would like potentially do more perhaps, but first and second gear are actually limited to that 4,000 RPM.
Okay.
Some people say this is for EPA reasons. Some people say it's just for safety and Honda or whatever, but you can get that taken off. This bike has...
It kind of sounds like a limit, sort of like the 89 Corvettes had, where they had the 1-to-4 shift. Where like they lock the transmission so that if you rev high enough, like it'll force you to go from first to fourth instead of letting you go into second. But,
no, this just stops. But again,
well,
if you
but
wanna
but
be...
it's a similar thing to like it is like as a restriction.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, this bike has, just for 2010, it's the most technologically advanced bike you can get. So again, you can get it DCT. The exhaust doesn't just have a power valve like you would get in a lot of like two-stroke bikes or whatever. It has sequential power valves, apparently. Well, I'm taking that on a little bit of faith. I've read articles where people say, like there was a Honda official video where they had someone from some motorcycle magazine banging on about how it has sequential power valves. So like there's even a bunch of technology in the exhaust. It has linked ABS for whether you hit the front brake or the rear brake. But whether you're engaging the ABS from the rear or the front brake, the brakes do behave a little differently. So it's one of those smart ones where if you hit just the rear, it does engage the front, but only 40%, and it's still 60% more rear. But if you hit the front, it does do like 75 front and 25% rear. Like it's smart that way. It has, I think in 2010 it didn't have cruise control, but then from then on it does have cruise control. It's got one key removable bags and storage, which was pretty fucking neat in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
It has ABS. It has double front disc, 6 caliper brakes. Sorry, 6 piston caliper brakes. I said that wrong. Yeah. 6 piston front brakes.
It comes in 6?
So, Mike, if like the brakes on your car are probably, they might be one piston. They might be the same brakes that are on mine.
Yeah.
On my Fiesta, right? So when you hit the brake pedal, right, there's one big round piston that hydraulically is pushed in and pushes the brake pad against the disc. This has 6 different pistons, all which, well, imagine I had 6 fingers that all push the brake pad onto the disc.
Okay.
So so when you have more pistons, basically you spread out a longer
When you have
brake pad, so more contact patch.
Okay, sure.
Basically when you have more pistons, you're evenly pressing more brake pad into the disc, so you can have more radius of brake pad, and thus you can dissipate more heat and brake harder for longer.
Yeah, but every bike I've ever had is like 2 pistons.
No.
No?
You own a Buell.
Yeah. I guess I don't know how many the Buell have. I'm going to look it up.
Just waiting for you to look up this number. Yeah. This is Buell stuff. This is essentially a Buell brake without being a Buell brake is what's on the front of this bike.
Okay. Because I know Buells have like the magnesium brakes, and that was their whole patent, but I just don't know how many.
No, the patent is how it's mounted, so they can have this gigantic disc. Anyway, So the braking is out of this world. This is again, depending, 145 or 170 horsepower shaft drive motorcycle. And as it should be, like the Norge and some other bikes, the shaft drive is also the swing arm, which is some good weight savings. It is 613 pounds wet. And some people complain that it's only got a 5-gallon fuel tank. So like, oh my gosh, it only goes like 190 miles on a tank. Fuck off. That's enough.
Yeah.
That's not going to stop you from doing iron butt rides.
Can you throw me a beer?
They're right by you.
Yep.
So...
Okay.
Now again, I said that this bike at $16,000 to $20,000 or however much it cost in 2010, fuck off. These are down to $5,000 to $6,000 now.
5 to 6, you say?
There
is
is
tempting.
one for sale in Denver right now. They're asking $6,200.
That is tempting.
It's a nice looking bike.
I mean, it's still a modern Honda, like, that still gets, like dealership part support.
Yeah.
That is...
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you took me back in time...
This is a Honda that does Norge things with an extra 80 horsepower.
Yeah, I mean, if looking at the Norge now, I mean, the Norge now is probably only worth, like, 3,200 or 3,400 probably.
Yeah.
But if you said, like, hey, for another two and a half grand, you could get another 80 horsepower,
Yeah.
another 20 foot-pounds.
And just
of torque,
own a V4.
and own a V4.
An over 1 liter V4.
That's... Yeah, that's really compelling.
Yeah. Also, these are reliable bikes. These sold better in Europe, and there are examples of people putting well over 100,000 miles on them in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
And
That
so
makes sense.
when I said it's not really, like, it wasn't sporty enough for Fireblade guys, it wasn't touring enough for ST 1300 or Goldwing guys or whatever. And everyone's like, oh, it wasn't this enough, it wasn't that enough. They're not understanding what the bike was. Honda is such a big company with such a big swinging dick, like the Rune. This bike was just a fucking statement.
Right.
So for $6,000, what you're getting is Honda Rune levels of prestige.
Yeah, especially with those massive one-off fairings.
Yeah, the wind protection's really good.
Well, not only
Yeah.
that, but like it's so obvious. Like, I mean, yeah, the CBR like 250 does kind of look like it, but the CBR 250 doesn't have those massive single-piece fairings.
Right.
And I guess the other thing about this bike that doesn't appeal to a certain crowd is that this, as ridiculous as this bike is, like, this is a bike that you keep stock. You don't need to fuck
You
around.
can't improve it.
Yeah.
Sadly, a lot of people that bought them, apparently Akrapovic made some sort of exhaust system that they said worked for it just fine. I'm so skeptical. Like, I do know for a fact it has at least a power valve in the exhaust, so I would never want to fuck with the exhaust. But especially if it actually is like sequential power valves in it, which I don't even know how that would work. Again, I'm taking that on faith from just a video that Honda put out of moto journalists reviewing the bikes, and maybe just no one gave a fuck. I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't be fucking with this exhaust if that's what's going on. Like, no. I'm hesitant to fuck with any exhaust without a good reason anyway.
I think
Bruh.
the other thing that's going to be a big selling point for this bike is that if you go and buy this off somebody, like if you go buy this used off Craigslist, it's probably going to be the original owner. And
It's a good chance, yeah.
there's like an 80 to 90% chance that guy has a credit score over 800 and has his life together.
Yeah, exactly.
This guy isn't fucking around. He didn't like.
Yeah, the majority of these you're going to find are going to be in amazing condition, and the guy will have like actually filled out all like the numbers on the service intervals in the book. It's going to be
Right.
it's going to be like a Goldwing owner. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Also, this, like I said, this bike came with all sorts of stuff. It comes with stuff you don't expect. Would you expect this bike to have a center stand? Because it's got a center stand. Every single one of them came with a center stand.
Nice.
Again, the keyed, matched, and removable luggage. I'm forgetting all of it. There's like a lot more. This bike's all on the little things. Like, does it have a TFT display? No. Those just weren't a thing in 2010 to 2014. Like, no one gave a fuck.
I do like this bike has one of my favorite features.
What's that? Integrated turn signals in the mirrors?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you were going to get to that. Yeah. I love it too. I don't know why I love that, but it's so efficient.
It's just one of those little things where it's like, look, we're high technology. Everything serves a dual purpose. It's
Well, I just don't. Here's the thing. I like big, wide, obvious turn signals, but what I don't like are stock rubber, plastic, and nylon turn signal stems.
well, yeah, and they don't have to stick out of the fairing through a giant hole.
Right. Yeah, it's more aerodynamic, it's more efficient, it's more stylish to me, and it's more noticeable.
And they don't break when you drop the bike.
Right. Yeah, they're so like yeah, every fucking one exactly. Mhm.
And the only reason to be annoyed by them is if you're the sort of loser who thinks it's really cool to take his mirrors off his bike. Which
There are cool people I know that do that, but doing that is not in and of itself cool. I agree. Yeah. Don't get like Swigs. You know we've passed a couple R6s and a couple Gixxers in parking lots where they've done the standard mirror delete and tail tidy and some other things, and there's the proper amount of low side scratches up the side, and we're like, nice. This is exactly how this bike should present. Right? There's a certain thing you don't expect to see.
Well,
There's an argument that a Gixxer 600, especially in SRAD, looks better with one broken mirror. That's its natural state.
it's fun
It's a
to
patina of age that is appropriate to the model.
it's fun to meet that guy. It's not fun to have that guy be integrated into your life.
This is true.
This is not a. If your day going well relies on that person having his shit together, you're gonna have a bad time. But if you meet him at a gas station,
Yeah, you
that's
don't want to promote that guy to your assistant manager. But he's fun to have on the crew.
Yeah.
He brightens up the day. So yeah, at $6,000, like I'm jumping at this, like holy shit, right?
Yeah.
If it wasn't, I would be buying that one. No shit. If I wasn't about to pour just stupid amounts of money into a Lambretta.
I like that silver one.
You like the silver?
Sure.
I think you got to have it in the red and gray.
Yeah, the red.
I
is
think the
there.
blue and gray is second choice and the silver is third. I think the black is a mistake. The black like hides the shape of it.
Black
It's at
is always
least
a
a
mistake.
gloss black.
I've been
but-
over this many times. Black is always a mistake.
Well, yeah, our one of our most popular YouTube videos right now is a short on how black is done.
black is done.
Yeah.
The lack of a yellow is a little disappointing.
I don't know that yellow would suit the shape of this, but okay. I think the Honda red, almost all of them are red. Like 9 out of 10 of them that were made were red. But again,
Yeah, that makes
Honda,
sense.
it's big red, right? Like, and this was their statement bike, and there you go. Weirdly, I think that the CBR 250 that had this styling, these fairings with the Repsol paint is chef's kiss, just fantastic. If you bring up the 250 and look at the Repsol fairings, you're like,
That is, yeah, I do love the Repsol.
I think the Repsol on these fairings looks better than the Repsol on the 2008 CBR 600. Isn't that the coolest looking 250 sport bike ever?
I think with the wings is super solid.
And it's also I think this fairing with the Repsol colors, this is some ways to go, but if we're going to talk about the two best looking 250s ever, I think this, at least in the Repsol, in this fairing, ties the 2000 and previous Ninja 250.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
And this may be some going, but I think the original Ninja 250 is the best looking Ninja ever. There's a lot of very good looking Ninjas. The ZX7 might be number 2 in my book.
I really like the early 2000, or like the early to like mid 2000s 636.
Yeah, I mean that again. It's an icon. Yeah, that's a great. There's lots of really good Ninjas. I just think the original Ninja 250 is it's so good. So anyway, I don't have a whole lot to say except that like there's things I'm leaving out. If you just take a deep dive on the VFR 1200F, how much technology is packed into it will surprise you. Really, the only thing it doesn't have is a modern TFT display. But everything else is Honda was just like loaded up, make it more deluxe. You have to understand like how bad inflation has been. $20,000 in 2010 is like $32,000 now.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous.
It's pretty ridiculous. Imagine a $32,000 sport touring bike. Now, what if I tell you you can get that for $6,000, probably with less than 20,000 miles? The trick is finding one, because they didn't sell a lot of them here. But if you find one, and all the dudes that bought them were like old dudes who are about to do their last 5 years of riding. So if you find one, it's probably been sitting for a few years unloved. But fortunately, it's fuel injected and built by Honda, and it was Honda's like best built thing, right? Like again, this was a statement motorcycle, like the Rune. They probably took a bunch of guys off the Goldwing line that were like the best guys off the Goldwing line and said, we're going to put you on this special line building this bike, right? Because that's how it works in the Japanese factories. Like as you get promoted to working better lines. This is one of the reasons Goldwing build quality is out of this fucking world. All the dudes are like 53 because they've been at Honda for 30 years. And they know their shit. So anyway, there we go. What time are we at, Mike?
We are at 1 hour. Or hold on. Yeah, 1 hour 4 minutes.
Fuck. We better do some Made It Motorcycle really fucking quick. Holy shit. the general public might be getting more like an hour and 45 minutes here,
Right.
and then we'll do Patreon extra shit.
This is a big deal.
All right, we're gonna for our new listeners who have joined us and got to know us through our new YouTube presence or whatever, or through the shorts, or
Tell them what we're drinking. What you make for us tonight?
it was an hour ago, Mike.
Yeah.
I've already drank my drink.
What do you drink?
I had a Mai Tai.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, it was a double Mai Tai. I made two in here. Your drink was a double as well.
Yeah, it was.
Swigs wasn't.
Sorry. You've got outlaws.
It's all good.
So we're gonna do Made Up Motorcycle. This is one of my favorite things that we've ever done on the podcast. I love this. So everyone's gonna choose a category, or should have already chosen a category. And then from their category, we're going to go in a circle. Everyone's going to name or give a name from that category. So, for example, let's say my category was old NES Nintendo games. I would be like, okay, I challenge you. If there was a motorcycle called the Metroid, what would it be? Right? And let's say, Mike, you said, my category is parrots. You'd be like, the toucan. What would that be? Right? That's how this game works.
Yeah.
Right? What would that be? Right? So does anybody want to go first? Who feels like they got a good category?
I think I got a decent one.
Okay.
I'm going with Greek philosophers.
That is good. That is super strong, Swigs. Well done.
It's right up there with serial killers.
Yeah. that's really good. All right, hit us with a philosopher.
We're gonna start with the Socrates.
Socrates. Okay, so this isn't Plato. This isn't the beginning. This is one generation in, right? So immediately right off the bat, I want to go with, okay, let's pretend that this is the second generation of a bike that a company has been making, right? So, right? Because, Socrates was Plato's student, right?
And he spent all his time talking about Plato.
Well, right. But, I mean, but if you have to do that, Plato's not a bad dude to be doing that with, right? It's the academy and all that shit. Yeah. That's the thing, too, the academy. So that means this needs to be a spin-off of, or an improvement or a second edition of a bike, but also with a bunch of different flavors within it, right? Because Socrates, again, the academy, all his disciples, right?
What have you done to us, Jonathan?
Well, I'm just getting our juices going here,
right.
and jump in any time with anything, Mike. So I would say, let's pick a manufacturer. Unfortunately, there are not, to my knowledge, any Greek motorcycle manufacturers.
I already have this bike figured out and who makes it.
But let me think. Well, who does sell a lot of bikes in Greece? Well, Vespa used to. Let's go with Vespa. I think Vespa's an out there enough company that they could get away with a name like Socrates as well. I think that this would be a bike. So in order to figure out what the Socrates is, I have to figure out what the Plato would have been, right? So I want to say the Plato
Do
would have...
you?
Yeah, this is just respect my process, okay? Just hold on. So the Plato would have been some sort of, I want to say, okay, here's where I'm going. if Vespa made an 80cc two-stroke. No. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I want to say, no. I'm still not there. Ooh, Mike, what have you got? I'm not connecting all the dots quite yet.
All right.
I'm on the cusp of something. I'm almost there.
I'm just going to go with it's the most technical bike. And because in Greece they don't make their own bikes as far as any of us know, it's an Italian bike. And I'm going to go with what am I going to go with? Yeah.
It's been a while since anyone's been stumped.
Yeah.
I'm not so. I've just come
It's
up with
so
a
hard
new
category.
angle, right? So, no, I can't bring in Aristotle into this. Okay, okay. So, Socrates.
How can we have a category that's at least
No, this
related
is
to
really good. No, this name is really good. I just want to nail it first try, and I shouldn't try to nail it first try. I should just put something out there, and then we'll all give our input, and then we'll eventually nail it, which is how we always do it. I'm just not for some reason I don't have the guts to just fully form it. So let's say if there had been a scooter called the Play-Doh that Vespa made that was an 80cc two-stroke. This is Vespa then going, we're bringing out an 80cc four-stroke as the next iteration of this bike.
Swiggy, I love this.
We're modernizing our Play-Doh. Now it's the Socrates. Now give me some more, guys, because we tend to ladder off of each other with these ideas.
This is mainly just because I love chaos, but I love what's happening right now.
Shall I give you an idea of what? Shall I give you what I was thinking
An MV
of?
Augusta is what I'm going to go.
At least give me a taste, yeah. Well, here you could tell us what we were thinking, and then all of a sudden we may have something that infinitely improves it. That happens.
I was thinking of building off of the Socratic method. So ultimately, what this would be a bike probably made by Yamaha, because Yamaha loves to pile a ton of experimental shit into a bike.
Well, not as much as Honda does, but okay.
This is like off the wall shit. So like this is a bike that is essentially a training bike, and this could be for people learning to ride on like the MSF course, or it could be people going to superbike school. And this is a bike that has every IMU and track sensor, lean angle, everything, as well as cameras and all sorts of other technology. And this bike, when you go and take it to the track or go around a course, generates a ride report. And then it can like has cameras out there and can see other bikes and how you pass them or how you navigated through traffic. And then it goes through and asks you, why did you do this? And why did you do this? And why did you do this? And the bike actually teaches you by breaking down everything that you did.
Well, Swigs, this is perfect.
Tell me it has like a little AI voice.
Well,
that
Swigs,
comes over your
it could be
helmet
AI,
and
yeah.
comes.
I can merge our
Why
ideas.
did you do that? Why did you brake so hard just now?
I can merge our ideas. So you're so close, but they're not for learning to road race. So they're both 150s, and there is a Play-Doh and there is a Socrates, and they are 150 dirt bikes with all of these sensors for training racers, and the Play-Doh is two-stroke, and the Socrates is four-stroke.
Okay, now I have to pick something other than Play-Doh for one of my other ones. I was actually thinking.
I can't wait to see what else.
Actually, the
Jonathan
Play-Doh
comes
would
up
be like an 80cc, and the Socrates would be a 154 stroke. But yeah,
I was actually thinking that like the Play-Doh would be way more symbolic and referencing the shadows of the wall on the wall
The
of the
cave, yeah.
and the Play-Doh would actually be like a bike that lies about what it is, but can kind of switch between modes where like the Play-Doh could be, for example, like a code name for a Harley Davidson that lies about being a hardtail, but then when the rider finally realizes that they actually don't want a hardtail because they suck dick because they're terrible to ride, and they realize actually having some rear suspension would be good, they can take it to the dealer and say, I was thinking of buying another bike, and they say, well, actually, you were riding a soft tail all the time. And they can just pull a pin and it becomes a soft tail and they've got suspensions. Like, take this round the block now. Like, which maybe is a little esoteric, but
I don't know. I think we kind of got it with. I love your idea of a bike fully sensored up to give you like real time or post like lap track data in every way, like to an extreme, but like for the dirt, because getting that kind of track data with IMU on like track bikes currently already exists. I don't know how much it does exist off road.
but I would also
It
say
must, but I
wasn't saying just for dirt. I was saying like add in like cameras and stuff, and then add in like seeing the turns and whether you hit the apex or not, and like were you trying to pass another rider, and being able to like step forward and backwards and say, here's what you actually should have done.
So we're talking about a consumer level track bike that has not just complete telemetry, but also the possibility of turn by turn like fuel injection tunability and feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it more for dirt because it's just more effective to start training someone that way on dirt. And that also just opens up my 2-stroke versus 4-stroke idea as well.
I think
right.
there could be a dirt Socrates. There could be a road Socrates. There could.
Of course there could. But yeah,
There could be a track Socrates.
I think we've got it. Because,
Yeah, it's
again, they
just-
were
yeah.
both more famous for being teachers in their days than actually being philosophers.
Yeah,
okay.
training, breaking down the details until it's just
All right, Mike.
annoying.
We got to move.
All right.
Do you want to go next or should I?
Sure. I'll
All
go
right.
next.
What's your category?
All right. My category is destination vacations.
That's pretty good.
All right.
I like this.
My first item.
It's going to be hard to not make them all scooters, but we'll do our best.
All right. Ibiza. I'm sorry. Ibiza.
Ibiza. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the Piaggio Typhoon is already the Ibiza, but if we're not going to do that,
Well, no, we gotta go a little bit further here.
yeah.
So, Ibiza is not really exciting to drive around or anything, and it's all pretty plain. But also, there's a 70% chance that the
Ibiza is the smallest, shittiest version of Miami possible.
Well, yes. So, but we also have to cater
For
to
our
the,
listeners that don't know what Ibiza is, it's an island off the Spanish coast. And it's just the smallest, shittiest Miami possible, is what it is.
It's where Europeans go to disco.
Anyway,
yeah.
the okay, so but I mean we are talking a scooter, so this has to be something cheap and durable enough to be rented.
Well, it doesn't have to be a scooter because Ibiza does have a little touch of that sort of like Dubai lifestyle. It's the kind of place where like trust fund kids would go. It's the kind of place. There was a short fad where trust fund kids were going with debit cards, and they basically cut the chip out of their debit cards and had them like super glued to their wrist so they
Yeah.
couldn't get so fucked up they lost all their money. They could just wake up naked and just like go into a store and swipe their hand
there.
over the machine
Yeah, you
and
know-
just keep buying shit.
Yeah, you know,
right?
the first people I ever heard mention Ibiza were like rich as shit.
So
There's a
okay.
touch of Dubai. So there's a chance that the Ibiza is like, something like a Ducati with a half-gallon tank. Right?
No,
Because
so
that's
here's the
all
thing.
you would
All
need.
right,
So-
another MV Augusta. That's
so
my
here,
answer.
no,
MV
I
Agusta.
think this is a scooter or a scooter like concept, but it has to be DUI friendly.
Okay.
So, first thing is this bike has a fingerprint ignition. So
I like it.
So you can't
You
lose
can't
the
lose the key. Yes, we're getting somewhere.
This is still two wheels, but it has a little like gyroscopic kickstand on each side. So if you tip the bike over too far, a little kickstand swings out and stops you from dropping it.
Well, I like the idea of it having like the shake weight in the center, like the Honda self-balancing bike.
That's
Oh,
an
that-
option. Okay, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Because that's going to be a lot more helpful because, let's face it, you're going to have a drunk girl on the back.
It's true. So it could just actively help you stay upright.
Yeah.
That's solid.
I think that's the answer right there.
Well, I
Well-
mean, what else? What else can we make to make a scooter drunk proof here? Well, obviously it's 49cc. It's under the, or just straight electric underneath like power regulations for whatever Europe or Ibiza is going with. Sure, it doesn't have to have shit for range. Should it have like your pay information in it, like on file as well?
okay.
Just go full on. Like you can just roll it up to the pump, and the pump will be like, okay, RFID, we accept payment.
Yeah, maybe you can put your bank card in it, and as long as it's turned on with the thumbprint, you can like.
Right.
There's like a little NFC like emitter that you can just pull out on like a little retractable string and like hold it up to the gas station.
Yeah.
Or up to like like the drive-through or whatever.
I think it's a good idea to make it a good like 14 feet, just in case they have to take it all the way to the door and like to the register itself. Like the string is like 14 feet, just in case, but doesn't hurt anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I think the self-balancing and payment drunk proof is
Fingerprint for ignition.
fingerprint for ignition.
My idea was just these like the instrument panel has a button you can push, and it's not a disco ball, but it's like those lasers that go up into the sky and like spin.
Wouldn't those just be optical lasers?
Yeah. But also there's disco music, or there's
Oh.
dance.
Built-
Oh,
Built-in
I guess it
speakers.
could have a kick and sound system. I'm not aware. Like the scooter with the most kick and sound system I'm aware of is the Bergman.
I think. Okay.
Maybe it's a
okay.
Bergman.
So if we go electric and like we don't have to worry about the form factor for a lot of the geometry of the bike, this bike can just have a giant, like rectangular subwoofer that's just pointed directly at the ground.
The wheels need to have either reflective tape, but I think it would be a little bit more Ibiza to just straight up have LEDs built into the rims for both flashiness and more visibility, because you're going to be driving it fucking wasted.
What if you could have LEDs in the rims and then you also had like if you were going fast enough, it could be programmable, so like the lights flash to like draw an image as you're driving by.
That's a lot.
That's
but
going to be
okay.
heavily dependent on your speed, but you can account for that in the programming. Yeah.
I think there's something you could do there.
There's something you could do there. We'll leave that as an aftermarket hack, but it's possible. There you go. I think we nailed that. Okay. As is often my case, I have two possibilities for a category, and I'll let you decide.
All right.
One of them was just going to be tiki drinks, and oh shit, I've forgotten the other one.
Tiki drink as it is.
Let's go with tiki drinks. Okay. Do you want to start with the Saturn or the grog?
Ooh. Let's start with the grog. Sugi?
Okay, well, I think the grog has got to be pretty straightforward. This is going to be some sort of flex fuel vehicle. This is going to have to be either a bike. This is going to be a bike that has automatic, like retarded timing to handle different fuel types. So this bike is basically going to be a giant, a small displacement, but like giant 150cc single. And
the only flex fuel motorcycle I'm aware of is a Honda 2-cylinder 250 that they do in South America. So there's some flexibility, but yeah, smaller displacements.
But here's the thing. The grog is not going to be a sophisticated bike. So the way that this bike is going to work is that every time there's pre-ignition and the engine pings, it's kind of just expecting it, and then it's just like, all right, let's back off a little bit. So you're going to have pre-ignition all the time, but the engine is so big and overbuilt that it's just
it's going to have to be the lowest compression ever to not bend the rods.
So this engine is it's sort of the same way that like ABS, like waits for you to lock up the wheels and then it lets off and then it kind of comes back on and it waits for it to lock up again.
Yeah, this is APS, automatic pingings, yeah.
So this engine is just going to constantly advance the timing until there's pre-ignition, and then it's going to back off, and then it's going to start advancing again, and then it's going to back off, and it's going to keep doing that its whole life, and it's just designed to take it.
I like that. Yeah. So, okay. So you could run it off like straight up alcohol or just whatever will go bang you put in it. And so it's the ultimate flex fuel. Like, we don't care what the fuck is in this. So it's going to have a crazy filtration system, but sure. I'm just trying to think what would be the power that you get out of it. Is this going to be largely based off of
it's whatever goes into it, really.
Well, so the only thing that's a pain in the ass about this motorcycle is based on where the timing is and what the engine temperature is it's weirdly going to need at least 4 spark plugs. And just depending on where it senses, like, what kind of fuel you're putting in it, it's like, okay, we'll use this spark plug. Okay, now we need to use this one now, right? Because otherwise, you're just going to go through plugs like fucking crazy, right? They're just going to, like, yeah, they're going to burn out or coke up.
The computer decides which spark plug you need.
Yeah.
Oh, this bike is going to just come.
And not only that, you might even need 2 different leads running to each one because, like, the voltage that's running to them, like the voltage drop that you need, like, may need to be different. So it may be like 2 different leads running to 4 different spark plugs. So 8 leads going to 4 plugs might be possible. I think this should be just a 200. I think you want to go really small on this motor. And at most, because let's think, if you're going to be running really sketchy fuels, are you going to be asking for more than 10 horsepower? I don't think so.
I was thinking like 4.
Right.
This is
like 10 is like the optimal. Right. So
if you put actual gas into this bike, it'll get 10 horsepower.
And I think we need this. We want this to be 4-stroke because if you're in an area where gas is sketchy, having decent 2-stroke oil is way too big of an ask.
Well, you're measuring your speed in knots here.
Right. So So
Oh, no, so this bike-
needs to be very small.
So this bike will probably have just an optional like switch that you can flip, and it'll add 2-stroke oil to your mixture.
Again, I think asking people to have decent 2-stroke oil in anywhere where the gas is questionable, right? Because this is a bike that's going to be like not even operated in Argentina. This is going to be operated in basically Southern Africa, Paraguay, like the Arctic Circle, and like North Korea are the
So-
primary markets for this motorcycle.
So this bike is
Like,
also going to come with
it's
another.
surprisingly easy to get decent gasoline in parts of Southeast Asia that you thought were sketchy. Like they have good gas now, right?
So another thing this bike is going to come with is, just because you're going to be riding this where gas is really sketchy, this bike is going to come with 2 fuel tanks. And it's going to have a petcock that you can switch between the gas tanks, for the sole reason that if you start off with good gas, but then you want to fill up,
And it's
you're like,
sketchy. You can create your own mid-octane.
well, you can either
Blend the two
you can
together.
create
There
your-
has to be a blend valve between
so
them.
so you can either blend them to kind of make it all work out, or if you're like, well, I've got 1 full tank, I burnt off the other tank, but I know this tank is good, but I don't know about this shit I'm
Right,
about
but
to put
it
in my
might
bike.
also be that like your higher or lower temp spark plug is totally fucked. So to use one of the different plugs, you need to blend them.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I'm gonna take this one extra level. There's like a reserve tap, but it's not used for reserve. It's to bleed off nasty fuel out of one tank.
I do want to say that the grog, we should find some specific like super high alcohol content rum that it will technically run
Oh,
off
that's
of as
perfect.
well.
Wait,
Yeah.
so Mike, are you saying that like there should be like a little sediment tap
Yes.
at the very bottom of the fuel tank, kind of like on an airplane, on like a Cessna, where
Or
you
like
can,
or a tractor.
where you
Yeah.
can just drain off and just be like, is there anything weird in here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, like an old tractor carb where the float bowl collects sediment at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
you don't know what kind of fuel you're getting.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, we need that. Well done.
That's,
All right,
Here we go.
all right, Swigs. Who's
that
our
is
next
very good.
philosopher?
All right. So for the grog, we've seen some nautical bikes before. I mean, there's just first off, there's the
Wait, we just did the grog.
Or are you
yeah,
gonna
but
do
aren't
your?
we all doing? Or is
Oh, no,
only-
if you have more
is
ideas, go
only
for it.
Swiggy answering the grog.
No, I just thought it was answered so conclusively we
okay.
were moving on. But no, if
No.
you have more ideas, we want to hear them.
No, I have an inferior answer to what Swiggy gave. But no, it's
I still want to hear it.
Okay.
We're good.
So there's jet skis. There's the what's that bike that
The wet bike.
the wet bike? Yeah, the Honda wet bike. But have we ever
We saw some pedal powered wet bikes today.
what?
You didn't see those?
Oh yes. Oh no. Those were
well, those had
were-
a little too much styrofoam help.
the
but-
wet bike was a hydrofoil.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
These.
but one thing we have never seen is a bike or scooter with a mast and sail.
That's true.
So I'm making the grog.
Outside of Kansas, I don't know how this works, but okay.
So yeah, I mean you can put like pontoons on it to make it more stable. But yeah, little mast that folds up.
Well, I was thinking just like a bicycle with a sail on it, but
Yeah, but this is a motorcycle or scooter.
well, right. But yeah, if your primary means of propulsion is wind, the only reason boats are sail powered is that wind power is A, free, and B, most plentiful in the middle of the ocean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because it gets windy out in the ocean.
Right. There's a good reason. And also, fossil fuels are hard to get a hold of in the middle of the ocean. This is why
This is
wind
exactly my
power
point.
in boats is a thing. Wind power isn't great for a boat because of how much drag there is moving through water, or even
Well-
just on top of water. But if you have super thin tires on like a road bike, like a Tour de France bike,
Okay.
wind power isn't entirely out of the question. You're not going to move very fast, and you're going to need this gigantic sail.
Well, it is a little bit.
Don't try to go underneath any bridges.
Well, it's a
Oh,
little
oh,
bit of
no,
a problem
I'm
if you
talking
want to
about-
go in a straight line.
Well, you're going to need strong forearms because, yeah.
Well, I'm just
no,
saying
no.
you can't really tack through a highway lane. It's a little tricky.
So
Well,
this
if
is
you
a
have
land and
a
sea
wheel like you do on a ship that controls your front wheel, right? So it's not
It would only need to
inconceivable.
be about like a foot across.
Well, I would imagine something like a chariot that you stand on so you can move a ship's wheel. There's a reason a ship's wheel is a giant wheel. You need that leverage to fucking hold it still,
Yeah,
right?
but this is like a little motorcycle. It only needs to be a foot across.
Well, it's not a motorcycle. It's a sail cycle that you're
yeah,
suggesting.
it's just a sail cycle.
So, but still, you're gonna need like a sizable wheel for it not to be like a fucking bitch to hold it in a straight line, as Swiggs has pointed
okay,
out.
all right.
I think the only
And you're
way...
gonna want to stand to
Right,
do
bec-
that.
because
So
of
it's
the
kind of
leverage
like a
that the sail gives
chariot
you.
on
Okay.
2 wheels with a big sail.
I don't... okay.
Yeah, I think Swig's idea was definitely better. But if you wanted to have a 2-wheeled sail device,
I'm not arguing that.
it's gotta be basically a chariot with a sail. Is
It's
is
just
my
that-
argument.
There's
It's
a lot
just-
more problems with it, but...
There's a lot of problems. I'm just saying, if you want to start from a 2-wheeled base, this is the okay.
So
right.
first off, a bike called the Grog is not going on.
All right, Swigs. Next philosopher's bike.
Next philosopher is Zeno,
I'm not familiar with Zeno.
inventor of Stoicism.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's easy. This is then because Stoicism has become such a fad for people who don't really understand the core of the philosophy.
Oh, you're not.
They think it just means just not complaining about things. They think it just means the opposite of being a snowflake, but that's not what it means.
You mean
but,
you didn't also become a Stoic in 2024?
no.
Swigs and I are Stoics.
Well, that's great for you. So, but if we were going to take like sort of somewhere in between the modern cultural understanding and the thing, this would be a motorcycle with the least amount of creature comforts, I think, is the way that this would go in. So we would take something like there's a few companies that have tried to do this. A few years ago, Harley Davidson did a thing that was very close to this. They produced a not Ultra Glide, an Electra Glide that was like $5,000 cheaper, that had like nothing inside the fairing, right? So it was like, a big FLH bike, right? So like the basic forks, chassis, tank, engine, everything was all kind of like Road King, and it had the Batwing fairing on it. But there was no stereo system. And there wasn't like digital readout bullshit. It was just a speedo, an attack, and an odometer. And it was like, okay, it's a modern Harley Davidson Electra Glide, but it only has the stuff that you would have gotten in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
What if Harley Davidson did that, but it wasn't an Electra Glide? It was like an 883 kind of thing, but like an 883, I guess, already is pared down to kind of 80s technology. I mean, they don't make one anymore. So that's not a great comparison, no. But let's say Harley Davidson made something kind of like that. They no, because we really want Harley Davidson to have more modern engines. We want them to have smaller, affordable stuff. Harley Davidson's not a good company for this. Let's go with, well, we were just saying that Indian should have a more affordable bike. So what if Indian made a cruiser? What if instead of Honda, instead, because like Honda with like the 650 Shadow was going, what's the most bare bones American style cruiser for the lowest price? What if an American company asked, what's the most bare bones cruiser for the lowest price? What if instead of Honda copying Harley Davidson with the Shadow, what if Indian copied a Honda Shadow and called it not the Xenu, the what?
Xeno.
Xeno.
That's one angle.
I like this. It's a 650 Shadow, except it's made by Indian. And it's an affordable entry-level bike that's sub $10,000. 9.5.
Right,
no,
right.
not even 9.5. 8,999. Super bare bones 650 air-cooled twin from Indian. The Scout Xeno. The Scout Xeno.
I'm going to one-up you here.
Okay.
The Xeno is going to be an absolute bare bones featured motorcycle. And the selling point of it is, like with the Stoic philosophy, you need to be able to handle everything that comes your way and take it in stride. And in the way that's going to do that is that it's not going to be a motorcycle company that makes it. It's going to be made by Harbor Freight. And every single part of the bike is going to be an individually purchasable component from the Harbor Freight catalog.
Oh, so it's really more a deluxe Coleman camping bike.
Essentially.
Yeah, okay, I like that.
But it could be
It's the
fancier.
best idea we've had yet.
You can have a
Coleman.
Predator motor in it,
No, this is great. I love this.
And the point is, wherever you break down, you don't have far to go.
I
to
only
get it
have
fixed.
one note.
Mm-hmm.
The name isn't the Xeno, it's just ZN0 is the
We could do that.
is the product designation, and it's an inside joke. But yeah,
Yeah.
other than that, I'm with you. Yeah.
All right.
And those may be bonus points because, you can't just go out and
What's
pick.
retail price for this?
Real retail price for this is going to be it has to be under $2,500.
Is it street legal? I think it has to be street legal.
I think
No, it has to be able to be registered as street legal. It's not
Yeah.
street legal as you buy it, but it comes with
It's-
title application and things to make it.
It's not going to come
with
with a title, but it will come with an MSO and it will have a VIN.
right. There we go. Yeah, now we're talking. I think you could do $1,900 for that. Yeah,
Probably, yeah.
does 41 miles an hour, something. Yeah.
And maybe it comes with a particular Predator motor in it, or some other weird motor, but then it's designed so that you can just bolt in a bigger Predator
For
motor into it.
$1,900, I think you could put in the Predator 650 V twin.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Yeah. Fuck it. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So
All right, Mike, what's yours
all
next?
right, my Xeno. So Stoicism is all about just not being proud of yourself, not being anything, just taking cutting all the humanity out of you.
Uh-huh.
So my bike is the most pathetic pathetic bike you could imagine. It's just an engine and 2 wheels and the stuff you need. It's slow as shit. Peter, it is recumbent.
Oh, wow. So basically a recumbent motorcycle with a 49cc 4-stroke.
Yeah.
A CVT recumbent.
You know what? It has that foam. You know those bicycles that have like that foam aerodynamic fairing around them?
No.
No. Oh yeah. There's like, oh shit, I forget the name. There are these bicycles that are like they have this super lightweight foam.
Okay.
They look like racing motorcycles, but
I think we have to take this
bicycles.
one step further. It doesn't just have a CVT. It has like a manually actuated CVT. So you have to just turn a lever to set the CVT ratio.
I don't know how that would be cheaper than just a Chinese CVT motor that they could just throw into it. But yeah, this is a recumbent bicycle with a 50cc Chinese $200 CVT built into it. I hate to admit this, Swigs. I liked Mike's idea better.
Yeah.
This has wheels. This has something to it because I think we can get MSRP on this down to $1,300.
Yeah.
I think we can and still make a healthy profit.
This bike
This
has
is a bicycle frame,
bicycle wheels.
but not full-size bicycle wheels. This is 14-inch wheels.
Okay.
So 6th grader to 7th grader size bicycle wheels, right?
Yep.
Like a middle schooler's mongoose bike, right?
Yeah. Peter, my dad would bring this home and he would be so proud of it.
Oh, he'd be stoked. Oh, yeah. 59 cc's. It has a 0.7 gallon fuel tank. 0.7 gallon fuel tank on this. It's going to have... You're right. I think you're right about the it may not be styrofoam. It may even just be like that material that you use, like tent rods.
Okay, yeah.
That just hold out nylon on the sides.
Yes.
It might just be that, right? But we're talking 36 miles an hour, 120 miles per gallon, and every dude that owns it can't fucking stop talking about how cheap it is to own and operate, and he gets everywhere just as good as everyone else, right?
Yeah.
Except that it doesn't have great visibility in the front because of all this nylon coming off the sides.
Yeah.
And the dudes that ride this have the umbrella hat. Right? The headband with the umbrella coming off of it. Right?
You know what? He can carry his backpack, and his backpack has...
Could you pass me another beer?
Yeah. His backpack has water bottles in it. His backpack has his wheatgrass juice.
Is there...
I think we're out of beer.
Oh, we may be
there's
out.
This one. You get the last
Oh, there you go. We may have to take a pause when we do the Patreon material and get more beers. What time are we at real quick?
We are at 1 hour, 48 minutes.
Holy shit. Okay, we have to call it quits right now for regular. The rest of this has to be Patreon.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Let's take a quick break. And just for convenience for the cutting, we're going to do an outro right now. We're going to do 2 outros for this episode.
End of the
All right.
regular.
Remember, everyone, for 25 cents, you could have had the rest of this episode. Who knows how long we're going to bang on about motorcycles that don't exist. All right, guys, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to die. I just want to ride on my motorcycle. Cole.